What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your daily news report for Wednesday, May 25th. So today we have some stuff that we need to discuss. First, we're going to address the horrifying act that unfolded out of Uvalde, Texas. We're also going to talk about how Congress is still giving away money to other countries. And I want to explain what is actually in the $40 billion that is set to go to Ukraine in the same time that the American people are struggling and bills are being turned down left and right for us here at home. I also want to address how rising diesel prices are going to be impacted, and we here in the U.S. are going to be impacted this summer. And I want to talk about what the White House, their plan is to do at the moment. All right? So that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. So let's get started. And first off, all I ask is just spend 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. Now, first off, I want to say just send my thoughts and prayers to the families and friends of all those that have been impacted by the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. Parents, send their children to school where it's supposed to be safe. They're there to learn. This isn't supposed to happen. We're not supposed to see a shooting at a school. But in the past, I think like 7 years, 8 years, what we have seen is there's been over 900 incidents in schools. That's insane, 900 incidents. Now here's what President Biden had to say after the news broke. President Biden said, "Why do we keep letting this happen? Where in God's name is our backbone to the courage to deal with it and stand up to the lobbyists? It's time to turn this pain into action." But here's the truth. Here's what Americans are saying. They say, no matter what tragedy happens, Congress has already been bought, so no change is going to be made. Here's the truth. This is not just dealing with gun violence, but everything that Congress does. Right now, too many people are sick and tired of the direction that we're headed because that is true. Congress is bought. They're bought by lobbyists. Their motives, honestly, we don't even know what they are at this point. Some members that have been in Congress, whether it's the Senate or in the House of Representatives, the issue that we're facing is, and many reports say the exact same thing, is we have to get some of these older members out because that's the problem. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, because there's a lot of issues. And right now, what everyone says is the exact same thing. We go from national tragedy, we send our thoughts and prayers, and then the mainstream media jumps in on it, then we kind of go back to normal. Congress never passes a bill, and we see another tragedy. And we just keep going around and around in this never-ending circle. Something has to change. But as of right now, what's shocking is that everybody says, hey, we need change. But at the same time, the people that are able to make the change, nothing ever gets done, which is insane. But here's something that did get done. And this is another thing that's shocking to me. But I want to address the $40 billion aid package that was passed recently to Ukraine. Now, many mainstream media outlets, they said that this package was good. This is going to help get Russia out of Ukraine. This is going to bring down our oil prices. Things are going to get back to normal. However, that's not entirely true. I want to explain something. I want to talk about what is actually in this bill. Okay? I'm just going to go over a few things. First off, the legislation includes more than $4 billion in international disaster assistance. Included in this $4 billion is also a provision for emergency food and shelter. Okay. That probably is needed in Ukraine. There's also $350 million in migration and refugee assistance. There's almost $9 billion for economic support for Ukraine, as well as other countries impacted by this conflict. Okay, so other countries. This is where money's going to flow out of Ukraine. Okay, just keep that in mind. There's also $15 billion for defense operations and maintenance. $6 billion is for the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. The other almost $9 billion, I think it's like $8.7 billion, is to replenish stocks of the U.S. equipment. This includes missiles and tanks and other things, right? There is money in this bill for rare earth element minerals. And these, again, are used in missiles. Now, based on reports, more than 90% of these minerals are actually coming from China. They're coming from China. The U.S. has stated multiple times that we need to stop relying on China, right? But at the same time, we keep on funneling money over to China. Sometimes it's not through a big bill. Sometimes it's through a back-end bill like this. We're sending money to Ukraine, but at the same time, some of that money is going to head over to China. But what's really interesting about this bill is that there was a bill on the table that would actually block defense contractors from using Chinese rare minerals. This was, I think, this was introduced, I believe, back in maybe December or January. Okay, December 21 or January 2022, so just 5 months ago. But that bill wasn't passed. There was nothing really said on that bill. So I think that's very interesting. This bill, this $40 billion for Ukraine, also authorizes nearly $200 million for the U.S. State Department. Another $100 million for embassy security, construction, and maintenance. Which is ironic. That the White House wants to send money for construction and maintenance to a place where there is still a threat. Does that make sense? It would be like an insurance company sending money to a family that wants to rebuild their home in, let's say it's in Florida, right? They just got wiped out by a hurricane, or their house was just decimated, and then the insurance company sends the money to the family, and they just start rebuilding all of a sudden when, let's say, it's still in the middle of the same hurricane. The hurricane hasn't passed. Do you see the irony there? Why would we do that? It just doesn't make sense. But what is also interesting about this bill is that Congress keeps giving away money to other countries. And this is what the American people are so frustrated about, is we are asking for help. We received a bunch of help over the past 2 years, and I think every single person was grateful at that time. But right now we're still seeing issues. The same time, I believe it was the same day. There could have been a couple days in between, but almost the exact same time that this $40 billion was passed by Congress, there was another bill that was voted against that was going to send money. I think it was like 25 or $28 billion to help small businesses here in the U.S. That bill was voted against. The reason why? We don't have the money. We don't have the money for that. There's no money. We haven't passed the Build Back Better Act, which would have increased taxes and increased the tax revenue that we're bringing in. We haven't passed that. So that's what some lawmakers are telling us, is we don't have the money to send additional aid to small businesses here in the U.S. But at the same time, we have money to provide $40 billion to Ukraine. Now again, I'm all for helping out another country when they're in need, but at the same time, what about us? That's the interesting thing, is nothing's coming for the American people. We're just being told that, we'd love to, but there's just no money. So, here's something else I want to touch on. And this is diesel prices. I want to talk about diesel prices and what many experts are worried about in this upcoming summer month. What we are seeing right now, and many worry that prices are going to increase no matter what. They are going to surge. They say this because there's a good chance that refineries will have to shut down if there are hurricanes. Well, what experts are predicting is that August is going to be the most active hurricane month of this season here in the Gulf of Mexico. So what they're saying is, as these refineries shut down, prices are going to surge. They're going to surge. And there's nothing that we can do about it. But again, at the same time, the American people are asking for help. Hey, help us out. Don't tax us. If you're gonna take our money, then you're gonna spend it on another country. Don't do that. Just don't tax us. Then we'll have more money. Then we can actually do something. Well, here's what we know the White House is considering. Because according to the U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, she said that President Biden hasn't ruled out an export ban or placing restrictions to help ease soaring domestic fuel prices. So that is still up for discussion, that there could potentially be an export ban on fuel, okay, on oil. We could see this, that there's a ban or at least a restriction. Here's the other issue. If we place a restriction or a complete ban on oil or fuel, what we could see is Europe, for one, is going to be hit hard. They will be hit very hard. The issue there is then they could place some other additional ban or restriction on some of their goods. So at the same time, we're talking about, hey, let's not make it where our prices go out of control. But at the same time, what we're seeing is if we do this, other countries could kind of piggyback off of that same idea. And if that happens, maybe oil isn't so expensive here in the US for us, but it could be other products that we use on a daily basis. So that's what we know at this time. As always, a lot of these things that we're seeing right now, a lot of the news that's coming out isn't great news. But again, this is the truth. This is what's happening. All right? So if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.